Hey guys, welcome back. This is the second video in our series on how to pick a good coach. If you haven't already, go back and watch the first video where we walk you through how to pick out your avatar of a coach and kind of get the ideal coach that you're looking for. In this video, we're going to move on to how do you approach that coach and what are the different types of coaching that you should be looking for and how do you evaluate those? So if you haven't already downloaded the manual, go to 9to5ers.com and download that manual. Click subscribe so you can stay in tune when the next video comes out for the last video in this coaching series. And so we can help you get the resources that you need to live the life you really want. So as you're getting this avatar worked out and you kind of got a pretty good picture, then you need to be able to approach them. And that can kind of be a little bit of a scary feeling, just approaching some random person possibly at this point. But hopefully you've kind of maybe talked to them a little bit, but that's what we're going to try to do is talk to them, develop that so you can weed out, all right, this is that person that I figured out that I wanted to look like. Now I'm going to go talk to them, develop that relationship. See, are they actually a good fit? Is this someone that I actually truly want built from the avatar that I just created? Is that actually manifesting what I was going after? So first step, go and introduce yourself. If you haven't already met them, if you don't already know them, introduce them, strike up a conversation with them. Hey, how you doing? Where are you from? That kind of gets ball rolling a little bit, but keep that avatar in the back of your mind as you're talking to them. And use that to kind of screen like, okay, these were the things that I thought this person had, and see, do they fit? If they fit, then great, go on to this next step here. But if they don't fit, then okay, maybe we'll just scratch this person off our list. Maybe they're not quite as good as I thought that they might be. So, and that's okay. It's better to scratch out a bad coach than it is to start signing up with them and maybe getting misdirection, going down a road that you weren't really going after. So if they are in the step 3, then maybe set up a lunch with them and get to know them, or set up some kind of way to get into more of a one-on-one setting where you can actually feel them out a little bit. And that'll really tell you, all right, is this truly going to be a good fit? But still be cautious a little bit at this point and see, is there anything that they kind of maybe aren't going to play out well? Maybe they're just kind of in this for the money. And maybe they're not really in this to be a big help. Maybe they're maybe there's just some other bad traits that you pick up on that you really start to pick out in that personal interaction in this case. So getting that all figured out, then your next step is
ask them, do you mentor or coach? And this is going to be, after the small talk is all over with, and then yes. Okay, great. Would you open to coaching me? No. All right. Well, are you interested in potentially doing a trial run as a coach coaching me? And make it kind of nonchalant, no big deal. Like if it works out, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. You don't want to push somebody into coaching and it kind of goes sour and it turns into an obligation. You want this to be a synergistic relationship that is positive and moves in the right direction. They might already at this point have an inkling that you're going to be asking them to coach them or mentor them, and they might see this coming. And this is a point where we're not trying to force anything here. So if they say no, then go back to start looking at other potential coaches and follow up with them again later on. Just because you get a no now might mean a yes later on. And persistence does pay off. They might just not have the time. They might just not be in the right headspace that they've thought about coaching. Maybe their gut reaction is just to say no, and then they're just kind of like, well, maybe I could be a coach. I've never thought about it. No one's ever approached me about this. So good coaches are busy people. And they look at their time as the most precious resource in their life. And they want to make sure that they are using their time wisely. And that might be, they might just not know you well enough, and they might need to just kind of meet you a little bit and hang out with you a little bit more before it turns into a yes. But if they just say no and they're persistent on the no, then that's fine. no big deal. You don't want to force anything. And when you're starting out with this, definitely go with your instincts, especially when you've never evaluated a coach before. This is something brand new. It is a lot like dating, but this is something that could potentially make you a millionaire, or it could ruin your financial career or whatever they're trying to focus on. So they just need to be sure that they need to understand that you are serious about being coached, and you need to find someone that's serious about coaching you, and tell them that this is just a, hey, no big deal, trial run. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. And I always throw that out there when I'm approaching a new potential coach, because that takes the pressure off. You've already kind of cultivated a small little relationship here, and you don't want it to turn into something that's sour. They feel guilted into doing it. Tell them that what you can bring to the table. Just let them know, like, hey, I'm very coachable. I'm very honest. I will not waste their time. And any advice that you give me, I will take seriously. But be sure to actually follow through with your work. Like, you have to say what you do and do what you say in this. And we're going to talk about a little bit later on what the responsibilities of a coach are and a student are, and what makes a good coach and what makes a good student, because there's two parties at this table. And it's very important at this point we're still casting our net pretty wide. And if they say yes, great, move on to the next step. If they say no, don't get discouraged. You might have dodged a bullet here. Who knows?
Yeah. So that kind of leads into the different types of relationships that you may have with your coach. So if you've kind of approached these people to see if they're willing to be a coach, then maybe there's a different level of coaching within that this may fall under. So we're going to walk through a few examples here of different types of formats of coaching. The first one is just a free Q&A. And this is typically kind of done in more of a group setting, where you can the coach himself or herself can have that wider net and reach more people. And they can ask, people can ask lots of questions. They can get lots of questions answered to a lot of people who may have similar types of questions. So just a couple formats that you may find coaches doing this under. The coach will be at a restaurant at certain periods, and you can just meet up with them, and anybody can come, and it's kind of an open door, and they can come and meet up in that and get their questions answered. Or maybe you find that they're doing it online. They have like an online time where anybody can come join their whatever video conferencing software and get on, ask me anything kind of format. And it's really a good way to get into a coach's ear for free, usually, or for very cheap, and get to know the coach a little better, get some questions answered and know them, see if they're really going to be able to help you get to where you want to go. But you're probably not going to get the deep dive into your own personal issues to get that one-on-one help at that level. That's probably going to need a little bit more of an intimate type of relationship between the coach and the student.
Absolutely. And as we kind of go through these, the first couple here, this is still when you are vetting the potential coach, and they could be potentially vetting you without even really knowing it. Is this person showing up to the free Q&A? Are they asking me relevant questions? Are they going out and applying the answers that I give them? Are they showing genuine interest in it? And with the free Q&A or buying them lunch, this is still that point where you could keep the relationship at this level, or you could take it to the next level. But buying them lunch is basically the same as a free Q&A, but you're going to get a few upgrades with this. This could be one-on-one or with a small group of other students that kind of all chip in to buy the person's lunch, and you are picking their brain for that lunch hour or whatever it is. And you could call it rent a coach if you want to call it that. You're going to want to go to a restaurant that is middle of the road. You're not taking a McDonald's, but you're also not expecting to pay for $100 plate meal for them either. And this is a great way to grow that relationship and get some more detailed questions. Like at a free Q&A, you're not going to go, this is my specific issue. This is my specific problem that I have. You're just not going to get that question answered. It's going to be very basic, topical, yes, no, quick answer type questions. But at a lunch, you could analyze a deal, or you could figure out like, hey, I'm trying to start this business, and I'm trying to, what is the 10,000 foot view that I need at this business to get this business rolling to the next level, or to get it started? Or maybe there's one key component in a business that you already have up and running, and this is the issue that you have right there. And you could show them your paperwork. You could bring some paperwork to it, and they could answer that one question for you. Buying a lunch is a great way to continue to vet the person. You're out $25, $30 if they turn out to be a bum. Or the other end of it is that like, hey, I think this person is pretty genuine, and I want to at least buy them lunch again. And don't try to buy them lunch the next day or the next week. Like, just go, hey, can we do this maybe next month, or whenever you do this, like whenever you, and they'd be like, yeah, absolutely. And that's a good sign that you're respecting their time and you're also taking their information seriously. So Reese, tell us a little bit more about like a paid coach.
Yeah, so that when you start to get beyond that level where that is starting to say like, yeah, this looks good, paid coaching is kind of where the rubber starts to meet the road. That's where you're taking on a level of commitment with that coach. And I say that specifically, like you are getting action to commit. You can commit in many different ways, but when it becomes a financial issue, that's when you have said, yes, I am absolutely ready to commit to making this change in my life, or to go after these goals, or whatever it is that you're looking to do with your coach. So there's a few different ways that paid coaching typically kind of works, but it's definitely a lot more formal. Compared to sitting down at a restaurant, there's going to be some rules, some guidelines to kind of the way those interactions work. Not that we're just laying down the law in those kind of situations, but there's some formality into, hey, here's the way this relationship is going to work, because there's boundaries that need to be respected there as well. It's not like it's all going to be 100% you all the time, and you don't want it that way either. So one of these ways, the first way that paid coaching can work is with phone calls. And this can be like a once or twice a month kind of thing with your coaches. Some will kind of do as more of an as needed basis as well. If you got some serious issues going on that you're trying to work through, but they get paid a monthly fee, and you get that one-on-one time with that coach where they're not distracted by the Q&A of other people trying to ask questions as well. It's you and your time, and you have to ask questions, and you get to come with your personal situation already kind of worked out to say like, here's what I need help with, and the coach can help guide you through that. And you'll know really well at this point if you and your coach are a good fit or not, because you'll get that specific tailored advice to say, and like, hey, is this something I can deep dive into this issue with and get some good results? There's other ways to really get more out of the call. I'm not really going to worry about that at the moment, but that's kind of more advanced type of topic. But if these calls are working well, you're getting progress, and keep them going. But if you do think, all right, this coach is good, I'll set up these calls, and you start getting these calls, and you've done a few calls, and you're like, this guy's not even really getting an idea of what it is that I'm trying to do, then it's okay to pull the plug. It's not good for either of you to try to hammer the nail in that's not going anywhere. So that's okay to pull the plug at that point.
The next benefit that you would probably get with a paid coach would be what's called insiders calls. And this is where once a month, each coach would have their own insiders call. And what they do is they would get on a Zoom or whatever, and it would be the coach and then an unlimited amount of students on there. And they would be pretty much in listen only mode if the coach was doing a presentation. So if Reese was doing a presentation on stage 2, like just a deep dive on stage 2, of meeting your needs. And then I would have one maybe on stage 3, creating extra sources of income. So you would know prior to what the topic was going to be about, and you could prepare your questions for it, and you would have other students on there that would be able to act as kind of like mini coaches, because a lot of times someone would have an issue, and not only could the coach potentially help them with it, but the other people on the call could help with it too. And sometimes you're just going to sit there and you're just going to take notes and listen to it. And sometimes it's going to be a Q&A session. The coach should just get on there and just go, hey, what's your problem? Like, first one to talk, so it gets like, go. And then that person speaks up, and then they back and forth, and they try to figure out that person's most current problem. Not only that, do you get the synergistic part of the call where people are helping each other, but they're also archived, and you can go back and, let's say Reese has done 20 or 30 calls on stage 2, you could just go back and listen to all of them, and they're pre-recorded, and you can sit there and listen through them. If that's where your big issue is, you have the entire library to go back and listen to those. And I love the insiders calls because it's an additional bonus. And a lot of times I like to bring to my insiders calls, if I'm the student, I like to bring one question that I'm really struggling with. And that question will get answered. But also it's the multitude of different coaches that have insiders calls. It's not just like, oh, there's one coach, you're going to get one call. If a coaches network together, you got to remember they are compounding, they're leveraging their resources of getting on the phone call, and you now have access to, instead of just your one coach, you have access to maybe 4, 5, or 6 coaches, and you can learn about different aspects of life that you need to really focus on that all the coaches have to offer, and you already know ahead of time what the topic is going to be about. So you're leveraging the coach's time, and you're getting a wide variety of coaches, not just your one-on-one coaching call that you would have with your primary coach. So Reese, how is this different? How is a mastermind different from an insider's call, and what is a mastermind?
Yeah, so masterminds are probably my favorite part of coaching, coaching relationships. And that's either, whether it's from the coaching perspective, from the student perspective, whatever, it's a whole nother level of coaching and deep diving into issues and learning, and so much growth happens in a mastermind. But what usually happens is everybody will get together in the same room. It'll probably be 2 or 3 days, but every single person that's in that group that has the same coach group, they get time in the hot seat to work on their rocks, we call them. They're that big issue, like, hey, we're trying to move this boulder here. How do I move this boulder? And it's like magic. It's very hard to explain what actually happens in that room, other than magic. But somebody will get an idea. They'll say like, hey, I had a similar issue as what you're having there. And then this is kind of what I did. And then somebody else will be like, well, yeah, you could do that, but then you could do this a little better. And then somebody else will get another idea, and it just starts to snowball until you have this big solution that, if you didn't have all of those different minds in the group of both the coaches and the students with all of that diverse background of experiences coming together to be able to see the same ideas at the same time and come up with that solution, you come out with the best plan going forward that you would have never even thought of. That's usually what happens. You don't even think that that's a possibility or a problem, for that matter, until that comes out in this room, because all of these other people's minds like melded into one and became this mastermind and helped you to solve your issues and make big changes in your life. Very highly effective. And it's typically done maybe 3 to 4 times a year, kind of depending on the group. But multiple times is very good to be able to do that and keep you on pace for reaching your goals.
Reese, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you were talking there, I was trying to figure out how to explain the magic of that, and I was trying to come up with a good analogy for it. But think of like, if you know the Amish community, think of when they're trying to raise a barn or basically build a barn from nothing. Is it one guy out there trying to make this happen? And no, it's never that. It's the entire community coming together and putting a barn together. And the thing of it is that each person they have a specific skill set that they understand and have mastered, but they're also a generalist in everything else. And you're kind of coming together and doing something that is impossible, fixing a problem that is impossible for one person to fix. Do you think that's a decent analogy for it, Reese?
Absolutely. Whether they're building the barn from scratch or they're trying to pick up and move a barn that exists, it's not one guy doing it. It's the whole group.
Yeah. So the next level, and this is what, actually, it's not another level. This is another tool that you have with a coach, and this is the one-on-one day. And the first differentiation I would say for this would be that maybe there's a huge rock that you have in your life that you're not really prepared to deal with in a mastermind setting. It might be very, very, very personal, and this might be something that you would want to focus on with your coach, just one-on-one, or your multiple coaches that you would have if there's a team. And the basic setup of this is you're gonna meet up with your coach in person, and this is gonna be for a 6 to 8 hour time span. And when you come to one of these, don't bring a little problem. Bring the biggest problem that you could possibly think of, and then line up all of your other problems behind it, because there's been situations where I've brought my big rock and we solved it in the first 2 hours, and it's just like, oh man, let me think about, well, I got this problem too. And then you try to figure out other problems to fix. But these are the giant boulders that you have that maybe it's like a really deeply personal thing with a relationship with your spouse, or maybe you have an addiction problem, or maybe you have something that you just, a big secret that you don't want to talk about with the entire world or a small group of people, and you're just like, I want to focus with this one coach with this. Or another time it's specific finances. That's probably like the best analogy that I would think of, is that when you're ready to spill all of your finances out and you just want a couple of people to see it. And maybe you're setting up your vision too, and or your preferred life. This is what it's for. And you're trying to get yourself out of debt, and it's kind of I really don't want people to know that I'm $200,000 in debt with credit cards. Most people didn't think you could get in debt with $200,000 of credit, but I figured out a way, and I'm kind of embarrassed about it. So I really don't want to, just spread that out. And maybe you have a new business idea. Maybe it's whatever. It's huge, but it's also personal. And what's crazy? Most people just go through their whole lives and just deal with this on their own. They bear their own cross, and they just walk forever with this. But this is what the one-on-one day is for. And it could be something like, you know what, I'm tired of this. I just want to sell everything and move out of the country. And maybe the coach needs to help you, walk you through that decision of, is this something that you really, really want to do? Or is this or are we running away from something? But this is where you find the root causes of problems. And a lot of times we make the same mistakes over and over again, and we don't realize that we're doing it because they're manifesting in different parts of our lives. But this is where you get really, really deep and personal with just, say, one person in a closed room. And I always record my own so that I can go back, because a lot of times when I'm processing something my coach said, I didn't hear the next thing that he said after that, and I miss it. So there's definitely some tips and tricks and some tools to having an amazing one-on-one day. And actually, we'll probably create a video for that down the road here. But the one-on-one days are for they're for the Mount Everest of problems that you're dealing with. And you get a full 6 to 8 hours or longer if you need to, taking breaks, going to lunch, relaxing, changing your venue. Like maybe we're sitting in a classroom, maybe we're walking in a park. We're going to figure out this problem one way or another, and we're going to solve it, and we're going to create some waypoints and some action points to knock it out. And this isn't a easy problem that was going to get fixed overnight. This is something that's been driving you bonkers your whole life or for 10 years. So
Yeah,
one-on-one days are crazy.
Yeah, they're really big items, like you said. So like a couple of mine have been around like specific finance issues, like Joe's mentioned, like, okay, how am I going to make this finance plan come together? I mean, one of them was I just found out I had cancer. Like, what am I going to do? And we literally spent the whole day of, okay, what is the gravity of this situation? If it comes down this road where it's a really bad road, here's what I'm going to do going down that road. If it comes out like it's okay, maybe not such a big deal, then we're going to go down this road. What if it's kind of in the middle? And we just spent the whole day diving into that. And that's like the big kind of issue that can really be hashed out in a one-on-one situation with a coach that very personal, very tailored to you. So let me know in the comments. I'm pretty curious. Have you had a coach before or not? Just yes, I've had a coach, or no, I've not had a coach. Let me know in the comments, and go ahead and watch the next video.